I recently saw a video by Sven Carlin, Ph.D. about how adding risk to your portfolio is not a great idea. I also planned on a similar video, but he beat me to it, so I moved it up my video topic list as I couldn't stop thinking about it. Link to his video is below. His videos are always interesting and can be a good addition to your learning journey, so check him out. Now, off to the races.
All right, let's dive into something that might just flip everything you think you know about investing on its head. What if I told you that taking less risk could actually lead to bigger returns? I know, it sounds completely backward, right? But stick with me, because the logic here is, well, it's surprisingly powerful.
I mean, this is the classic advice, right? You hear it everywhere. No risk, no reward. It's drilled into us from day one. You want to beat the market, you got to be willing to take on these huge risks, maybe even gamble a little. But is that really the whole story? Is that the only way?
And you can see why it's so appealing, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that? Just a couple of extra percentage points each year, you let that compound for a few decades, and you're talking about maybe 2, even 3 times more money when you retire. That's the dream. But this idea, this belief that big risk is the only way to get there, yeah, that's what we're going to poke some holes in today.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, let's tell a little story. A tale of 2 investors. We're going to call them Sally and Paul, and we'll see how their very different strategies play out in the long run.
So, let's meet our players. First up, you've got Sally. She's our steady investor. She puts $2,000 a year into a simple market index fund, and she's totally cool with a solid, predictable 9% return. Then, you've got Paul. Paul's a bit of a thrill seeker. He's also investing $2,000 a year, but he's all about chasing the hottest new thing. He's trying to hit home runs, looking for those massive, fast gains. So same money in, but 2 completely different mindsets.
And you know what? For the first 9 years, Paul looks like an absolute genius. I mean, his high-risk plays are paying off, big time. He's averaging an incredible 15% a year. His portfolio has shot up to over $38,000, while Sally's is sitting at a respectable, but much smaller, $25,000. Paul is just crushing it. He's leaving her in the dust.
So you can just imagine how Paul's feeling, right? He's on top of the world. He thinks he's cracked the code, found the secret to the market. But we've all seen this movie before, haven't we? What goes straight up in a frenzy has a nasty habit of coming straight back down. And for Paul, the party is about to end hard.
Boom! Negative 90%. A total wipeout. That hot sector that Paul bet the farm on, it completely implodes. All those gains he made, gone. Just vanished in an instant. And let me tell you, try to recover from a 90% loss, it's basically impossible. For Paul, the race is over.
So Paul's story is obviously a huge warning sign. But does that mean the only other option is to be like Sally and just settle for average market returns? No, absolutely not. There's a third path, a strategy that can actually get you better returns by taking on less risk. And that brings us to the whole point of this explainer, the power of de-risking.
Okay, so what in the world is de-risking? Well, it's not about chasing hype like Paul, and it's not about just passively buying the index like Sally. It's something different. It's an active, you could even say contrarian strategy. Think of it like this. You're on the hunt for really great companies or whole market sectors that everybody else is freaking out about. They've panicked, they've sold, and they've pushed the price way down below what it's actually worth. You're basically looking for a 5-star hotel room at a 1-star price.
So how does it work? It's really a 4-step process. Step 1, find the stuff everyone else has given up on, the forgotten, oversold corners of the market. Step 2, this is key. Do your homework. You dig into the fundamentals to make sure it's a genuinely good company that's just having a bad day, not a dying one. Step 3, you buy it at that sweet, sweet discount. And step 4, you wait. You just wait, because market moods always change, and eventually people will realize the value you saw all along.
All right, now we get the strategy. So let's hit the rewind button. Let's give our friend Paul a do-over. What if, from day one, instead of chasing rockets to the moon, he used this de-risking approach? How different would his story be? Okay, so in this new timeline, Paul's not trying to hit grand slams anymore. His goal is way more modest. He just wants to beat Sally's 9% return by a little bit, just 1.5%. He's aiming for a steady 10.5% a year. And the crucial part is he's not doing it by taking on more risk. He's doing it by taking on less risk, buying those quality assets on sale.
And this, right here, this is where the magic happens. This is the incredible power of compounding even a small, consistent edge over a long time. After 40 years, Sally's done awesome. She's got almost $750,000. But Paul, wow, that tiny 1.5% edge, which he got by de-risking, has ballooned his nest egg to over $1.1 million. That's more than 50% more money. It's a life-changing amount of cash, and he got it by being safer, not riskier.
And look, this isn't just some made-up story about Paul and Sally. This is real stuff. The author of the source material for this explainer actually did this. He talks about how during the pandemic, everyone freaked out about life insurance companies. They thought COVID would cause these massive payouts and bankrupt them. So the stocks got hammered. They were dirt cheap. He looked at the members, saw they were totally fine, and bought in. And he ended up making huge gains on what everyone else thought were the most boring stocks in the world. That's de-risking in the wild.
Okay, so we've seen Paul's two different fates, we've seen a real-world example. So what's the big idea here? What's the one thing you should take away from all this? How should this actually change how you think about investing?
It really comes down to this single, powerful idea. Your best returns, your truly outsized gains, should not come from taking on more risk. They should come from reducing it. It's about having a smart, disciplined process to buy amazing companies when they're on the clearance rack, because everyone else is scared. By the time you buy, the market's fear has already done the de-risking for you.
And so that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to ponder. The right question to ask isn't, what's the next hot stock going to be? The real question is, where is everyone else scared right now? Where is the market completely overlooking real value today? Because finding the answer to that question, that could be your ticket to getting those incredible low-risk returns. Thanks for tuning in.